pumpkins.
What you want? What you want?
I know I do a lot of pumpkins. We're going to do a whole nother tutorial on how to make a pumpkin again. So many ways to make these things. I'm going to show you how to do it. Alright, so to do these pumpkins, you're going to need balloons of some type, mache paste, newspapers, cotton, and then of course paints and whatnot, and sealers afterwards. So I'll go over just real quick on the difference in using this as an armature versus the bags or whatever. The bags work out fine. In my videos you see on the bags I put a lot of tape on them. Everybody comments that it's 1,000 rolls, and it's not. It's like 1.5 rolls is all it is. Balloon pumpkins, doing it this way, I'm not going to worry about creating any kind of ridging with the pumpkin. Build all that stuff over it with the cotton so we don't have to really worry about any of that. But the good thing with balloons are, once you pop them and let them out and you cut it open, the inside is so smooth. You don't really see anything in there, and it's nice to cut your pumpkin open and paint the inside of it, and it's just a nice smooth inside. So, you can do any size balloon you want, whatever. This pumpkin that I'm going to do, I'm hoping I'm going to be using on a Scarecrow Jack. So this is one of those punching ball ones. The thing you got to do is blow up your balloon. You probably already knew that. Balloon. It's not really pumpkin shaped. I'm going to wind up squeezing this down a little bit like this, and then we're going to wrap some tape around it to kind of hold that shape, and then we're going to put our exterior layer of newspaper on it and let it dry. Just to show you too that you don't have to smash anything down like that, and we can just use a normal little balloon and achieve a pumpkin look with it without creating any kind of ridging. We're going to do another one at the same time as this one. So now all I'm going to do, newspaper, mache paste, let them dry. Mache is always crazy exciting. I'll see you guys when these are done and dry. But wait, there's more. Kind of a helpful tip. I'm going to use my hands, and I'm going to put my hands in my mache paste. I'm going to put the mache paste directly onto the balloon itself, and then I'm going to take my strips and lay them onto that, and then I'm going to rub mache paste over the strips. I want to try to keep all the strips as flat as possible and with as good contact with this as possible all the way around. Just a quick tip. Both pumpkins are strip mached. I do recommend on these style pumpkins, put several layers on that. Make this base as strong as possible. The more strength that this has, the better off this thing's going to be. Okay, so what we're going to do, like on this one here, the top really dips down in like that. I like that look. And we're going to do it to both, okay? We're doing both the same way. Alright, so to pull this look off, we're going to cut the top, and we're going to cut the bottom on this one too. And take this crown top, and we're going to flip it over, put it back down, and mache it into place. And we're just going to go ahead and create this valley. For this pumpkin, I grabbed a bowl. It's going to work fine. If you want it to come up further before you do it, you can just take a little bit off the top here and fold that over. I want this pumpkin to look a little more squatted, so I'm using this big bowl to get my line with. Boom, we get it off. The balloon stuck to the wall. Generally, you can just get this started. Even on the inside, your balloon will just come off relatively easy. Smooth that is. That's what I was talking about. When you're using a balloon, the interior layer there is extremely smooth. other one apart off camera. That's the top. The bottom one, I'm going to leave this exposed on here so you can sit over light, whatever. But this one I plan on capping both sides, top and bottom, because eventually this may become a pumpkin jack, and it gives me a little bit more structure to deal with on the bottom to add things. So, because of that fact, since we got this cut open right now, and once I put the bottom and top back on, we're not going to be able to get back into this. We're going to seal this. We're going to paint all this interior stuff first. Then we'll put the stuff on, shade all together. That way when we cut our mouth open and do all that, this will already be sealed on the inside and already be painted. And since we're going to go ahead and seal that, we're just going to seal this one too. And I get asked all the time what I seal my projects with. This is a spar urethane. This is made by Minwax. I don't have any particular brand, just a good spar urethane. Seal the inside, we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to come back and I'm just going to paint this white on the inside. That way if we do put a light or lights or whatever, something in it, it reflects the light out a lot better. Okay, this stuff, the sealer's pretty much dry. It's dry to the touch. I'm going to go ahead and paint these things white. I'm going to use a primer to do this white. You can do acrylic too, whatever, that type of thing. I mean, that would work. I just have this and I'm running a little low on my acrylic, so we're going to use primer. It will, and it may probably bite to the sealer just a little bit better too. And it'll be nice and white, so it'll work. That's what we're going to use. We're going to take these cutouts that we got and just bring them back on top, tape them into place, and then mache them. Just going to start with this one, smaller. Show you how I do the cotton ball technique on the little one, and I'll do the big one off camera. It'll be the exact same process, just on a bigger scale. So what I'm going to do with these pumpkins, that's a lot different than the standard pumpkins I normally do. We're going to be using cotton balls to make all of our ridges and get that pumpkin shape, and then we're going to carve into it. It's much lighter. So if you're needing to make a pumpkin head that not quite so heavy, this is kind of the way to go. It is a lot slower to do it like this. It's much, much faster to sculpt a pumpkin out with paper clay. But when you're worried about weight issues, it definitely makes a difference. And it has a pretty cool texture on its own anyway. To start that out, you're just going to get a cotton ball, roll it around so you can find where it rolls together, and then just roll that thing out. And we're going to be using strands of cotton just like that. And then to apply this, we're not going to use our hands. We're not going to dip the cotton into the mache paste. We're going to use a paintbrush. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually paint some glue or some paste, mache paste, onto the cotton, not the cotton ball, onto the pumpkin itself. This gives your cotton something to stick to when you're first starting out. I'm not going to paint all the way around this right now, just a section so I can lay first piece of cotton down. This isn't rocket science, it's very simple to do, and the cotton reacts in different ways. I'll start this out in the center here, but I'll take the cotton where it's going to lay into the center, and I'm going to go ahead and smash it down to it's more like a point, and then lay that towards the center, and then let it fan out down the edges of, so we go from a nice little small point and widen out. this. And so now we're going to take our brush and we're going to apply paste to this. And it kind of takes a light hand, especially at first. You're really going to load your paintbrush up with a lot of paste and kind of let it just drip onto this. Once you get this saturated, then you can really brush down on it. If you try to brush, just take your paintbrush and brush along with it without getting it saturated, you'll start pulling these cotton fibers just everywhere. That's not what we want to do. And the cotton's kind of interesting. Once you load it up with your paste, you can either, like this is kind of balled out, so it's thicker right here and it's thinner here. If I just load this up with paste, and basically by taking my paintbrush and dripping the paste on there, I can keep that round shape to it, and then it'll dry up and kind of harden that way. And then when I go do a next layer, I can be more aggressive with it. If we fill this up with paste right now and I really smash into it, we'll flatten that out. That'll work. You just have to use a whole lot more layers to get that shape that you want. So if you're really trying to kind of bulk and get those bigger shapes, you can either smash it down at first, let it dry, and then come back and do what I'm talking about here, or you just load it up and gingerly go over it to kind of create that. Once that's dry and hard, then you can come over with more if you need to make it even bigger. You'll do the same thing again, or if it doesn't have to be so big and you're trying to add rigidity and strength to it, then your next layers you're really going to brush down because you've already got a structure underneath that's a little hard, if you follow what I'm saying. So there we go. That's the first little bit. I'm going to let this set and dry. It'll probably dry overnight. We don't have to worry about messing up what I've already got going on there. But we'll let this set and dry, and we'll move on to the next. We're just going to continue on adding cotton to this. Right now, the thing I'm going to attack, we'll add a piece onto here, let it overlap, and over here just to widen all these out until they kind of meet together. Basically the same thing we just did earlier, laying these down. We're just going to finish that off by just keep layering up more and more to get these shapes out. So. So those are all widened out a little bit more, wrapped all the way around. We're going to let this set and dry. And after it dries up, it'll probably shrink. We may need to put, some more on it to really blend it in together, make it look cohesive. But for sure, we're going to have to do some more work on the top, things like that. Maybe round the bottoms off a little bit more. As for the bigger pumpkin, it's good. It's the exact same process. It's a lot bigger pumpkin. Anyway, we'll set it up and let this thing dry and move on. I'm just going to change a few things or add to it for the most part. I want to bulk out all these bottom sides. These areas here that are a little bit wider in between, we'll go ahead and layer in some more cotton between those, close those gaps up. And then probably go ahead and set it on that stand and start dealing with the cotton in here. And it's just basically the same thing you're going to see on this. Just little bits of cotton that are going to go over these areas to kind of fill these gaps in, just make it look more natural, like it's more of a pumpkin. We'll raise this area up a little bit so the dip's not quite as deep. So this really isn't looking too bad. You can see it's forming out to look more like a pumpkin. That's all working. This top is still, I feel like it's sunk in just a little too much. We're going to add a little more on top. But before that, but before we do that, I'm going to add a little stem on here. It's not going to be extravagant. It's not going to be over the top, just a simple little stem. And I'm going to use some Carton Clay. If you guys want to know how to make Carton Clay or don't know what it is, there'll be a link in the description. We'll just do this in real time because it's not going to take any time to really make this. And once again, it's going to be short and sweet for a stem. This clay does shrink down quite a bit. So I do think I'm going to make it a little oversized because we are going to get some shrinking going on this. But basically that's it. And just simple little, very, very simple little shape. Looks like a stem. And we're going to put it right in the top. But before we place it, I'm going to put a little Mache paste on here. Should help it tack down a little bit better and secure it a little bit better as it dries out. So brush that on, a little wet. We're just going to take our stem and poke it down on here. We use a little tool like this. Go in and kind of grab the bottom of the stem on that clay and bring it from the stem really down into that pumpkin. Give it some bite. I don't want this coming off later. And then we can use this to smooth it out as well. This cardboard clay really isn't the greatest for detail, but I am going to go ahead. I think I'll make some striations in it and see if we can just add a little something to it. Quick, simple, fun little stem. Yeah, we do have a little detail into that. Kind of scratchy looking, but it will pass for stem. Alright, so now we're just going to add a little bit of cotton right in these areas right here and kind of bulk this up just a little bit so it doesn't dip down quite so much. And I'm going to let some of that cotton overlap on this cardboard clay around the little stem, and that should help kind of secure all that into place too as it dries out. Well, that's going to do it for the first step in creating these cotton ball pumpkins. So basically this is armature and, you know, our pumpkin shape. Little pumpkin really didn't turn out too bad. And this stuff really, I mean, it dries up really hard. That stem there, it really, you know, there's not a whole lot of detail in that, but there's just enough to make that pass as a passable stem. So, you know, it works. What's wrong with that? The big pumpkin that I pretty much didn't do or film on camera, but it was just the same thing, and I still even got to fill in these areas here, just like in the top of the little one, and get a stem on this one too. But it's just the exact same process. It's just a lot bigger pumpkin, but it works the same way. Keep your eyes open for the second step in creating these cotton ball pumpkins. On that step, we'll actually be doing the face on these things. We'll actually add some detail to them and finish them out and paint them, seal them, all that good stuff, so they're ready for Halloween. As I stated before in the video, if you want to know how to make that Carton Clay for the stem, there's a link in the description, so go check it out. Remember, if you enjoy this content, like it, share it to everybody you know, spread the love. And if you're new here and you like it, subscribe. And until next time, keep making something from nothing.